Hi all, I'm going to do this video today and I'm going to talk about panic attacks. And what's led me on to do this video about panic attacks is that I had a client come in to me yesterday to start his Anxiety Unplugged program with me. And during our chat, I like to spend a bit of time getting to hear about people. I'm always interested in people. He was telling me that, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, he had a pretty horrific motorcycle accident. And it was bad in the fact that the helicopter had to come in, the air ambulance had to come to him. He'd damaged his back, he'd broken his neck, he'd broken various bones. He had to have a blood transfusion whilst en route to the hospital, so it was pretty serious. But one thing that stuck in my mind and really did kind of, make me think for a moment was he said to me, "Andy, do you know what? I'd experience that motorcycle accident tomorrow, all the pain and all the trauma that went with it, over having another panic attack. A panic attack is the most terrifying thing that I've ever experienced, and I'm absolutely terrified about experiencing the next one." Now, I know all too well from my experience with anxiety how terrifying panic attacks are. And, they are the most terrifying thing that can happen to you. You are completely and utterly convinced that you are going to die. And, if you've experienced panic attacks, you maybe have ended up at the doctor's, or you may have ended up in hospital where they say to you, "Look, just calm down, everything's been fine. You've just had a panic attack." But there's a problem with that. You know everything's not fine. And now you're living in complete and utter fear because that panic attack is so terrifying. You're worried now about the next panic attack. So today we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about panic attacks. What are they and what can we do about them? Now, for those of you that have experienced them, you'll know all too well that panic attacks are utterly terrifying. You're convinced you're going to die. And when they've happened again and again, you start to get this sense that your world is just falling to pieces. Most of you that suffered from panic attacks maybe have ended up at the doctor's or at the hospital, and they just say to you, "Look, calm down, relax, you'll be fine, you've had a panic attack." But on the inside you're anything but fine. Those symptoms of that pounding heart, the dry mouth, the sweaty palms, that shallow breathing, it's a really horrific feeling, and it's one that you actually get scared of experiencing again. Now, the key element of the panic attack is that shortness of breath, when you feel like you just can't breathe. And that element is not imagined. It is utterly real, and it is totally terrifying. As we fight for breath, all of the oxygen that we're breathing in is not being used correctly. When we breathe normally, we consume the correct amount of oxygen, and when mixed with carbon dioxide, that gets transferred around your body, and then the carbon dioxide is breathed out. Now, when we're in a state of panic, we breathe out oxygen pretty much straight away, and due to this shallow breathing, precious carbon dioxide is not exhaled, which hasn't had the chance to do its job yet. As a result of this, the carbon dioxide levels in our body falls, which in turn makes the oxygen stick to our red blood cells more, and we feel oxygen starved. Even though you are breathing in plenty of oxygen, you'll very often see people gulping for air during a panic attack. And as we panic, we exhale even more carbon dioxide and even less oxygen is available. This creates that vicious cycle of panic, gulping for air, and the panic attack just builds and builds and builds. And the chest pains that you start to experience during the panic attack are very much real as well, but you're not having a panic attack. It's the strain on the chest muscles as you're fighting for breath. And the shakes that you get are a result of the hyperventilation. Now, panic attacks normally last around 2 to 3 minutes. But if you fight them, they tend to go on and on and on, or they may dissipate and then you'll go straight into another panic attack. And it's very common for clients to have multiple panic attacks back to back. See, it's the misuse of our thoughts and our imagination that are leading us into panic. That voice in our head that says, "I have chest pains, I'm having a heart attack, I'm going to die, something's wrong, please help me. Oh my God, this is much worse than the last time. Please help me. This is absolutely horrific." But please remember this, panic attacks cannot hurt you. They can't harm you. They're very uncomfortable. I know they're terrifying, but they can't kill you. They've never killed anybody, so it's absolutely fine. The secret is with panic attacks is to be aware that they're building. Take action before they get to what I call take hold. There's lots of flawed information out there on the internet of things to do during a panic attack. When you get to that stage of panic attack, logic has gone out the window. It's difficult to think about anything, and all these techniques out there of going to touch things and recognize things around you, it just doesn't work. It's not going to help. So the secret is to notice at the inkling when the anxiety is starting to build and you feel like you're heading towards a panic attack, take action. do something about it. And the biggest thing is panic attack is when our breathing goes out the window. We go into a state of panic. So if you can, take yourself off somewhere safe, sit down, and what I want you to do for just a few moments is to focus on your breathing. Now, I teach a technique called 478. It's helped many of my clients, and it can normally cut a panic attack off in its tracks. And it's called 478 because we breathe in for the count of 4, we hold for the count of 7, and we exhale for the count of 8. It's not 4 seconds, it's just your count of 4. Just getting into a rhythm. So we're making sure that the right amount of oxygen's coming in, it's getting a chance to do its job. We're exhaling carbon dioxide, and we're not creating all of those problems that I discussed in this earlier on in this video. So go sit down and focus on 4 in, holding for the count of 7, and then exhaling for the count of 8. And you repeat that for as long as it takes for you to start to bring the symptoms back down and under control. What I'd actually like you to do, and a great thing you can do, is practice 4-7-8 breathing when you don't need it. Become really, really good at it, so that when you do start to feel particularly anxious and you feel like you're heading towards a panic attack, you're not going, oh God, how does that breathing technique work again? What do I need to do? 4-7-8 breathing, controlling that breathing, slowing the mind down, bringing us back into the prefrontal cortex, our logical brain. We're not responding emotionally to stuff, and stop the panic attack before it even takes hold. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this video useful.